Okay, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and get started now.
Perfect.
All right, so thanks for having me today. I'm Harry Campbell from Biofeedback Resources, and I understand that I'm supposed to talk to you about biofeedback and stress today, so that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to give you some information about biofeedback, and then I'm going to demonstrate a little bit about how it works. And then if there's any questions, you can definitely ask me. Okay. So we probably already all know about fight or flight response, and it has to do with how the body reacts when there's a perceived threat. There's various things that happen. Is the lighting okay here? Is it me? Okay. There's various things that happen in the body when we're stressed, both physical and chemical reactions that occur. The big problem is that when there is no real physical threat going on, then the body's still reacting as though there is. And if this happens over and over, then the body is continuously responding to these stresses, and that's where we can lead to problems. So it's been reported that up to 90% of all doctor visits are somehow related to stress. So it seems a bit unreasonable that the number would be that high, but when the body's reacting to stress, it really interrupts most of the processes that go on in the body in order to deal with the threat. But when there's not really a real threat going on and the body's continuously responding to these things, it becomes chronic, and that's why it can cause so many different problems. So because it can interfere with things like digestion, even what goes on to keep our skin healthy and so on, the things that can be affected are just, endless. We also look at performance. So no matter what you're doing, whether it's sports, whether it's the work that you guys do every day, if you're dealing with a lot of stress, it can affect how well you're able to do whatever it is you're doing. And in terms of the way that the brain acts, it can also be interrupted by stress, and so it's not going to perform as efficiently as it normally would. So if we're able to decrease the negative reactions of stress, then we can improve performance. And there's many different ways that we can reduce stress, and you probably are learning about a lot of these other techniques, and I use a lot of these techniques. One of my favorites is laughter. You can find something to laugh at, including yourself, anytime. And then what I'm going to talk about a little bit more today is biofeedback. So here's a technical definition for biofeedback. That's not usually what I say to people that haven't heard of biofeedback. Usually I say we use instruments to measure how your body reacts to stress. So we can measure things like muscle tension, breathing, and so on. These are the things that we can measure. So EMG measures muscle activity, skin temperature, so we're measuring the temperature of the surface of the skin. In fact, I'm going to pass these out. These are stress cards, and there's a circle on there. You might have seen things like this before. You hold your thumb on the circle for 10 seconds and see what color it ends up being. It's affected by your hand temperature. So it's sort of a quick sort of way to get an idea of what your skin temperature is. Now, it's not going to be an exact measurement of stress because there could be other reasons why your hands might be cool. The idea is that when you are stressed, the blood vessels constrict, so your hands get colder. When you're more relaxed, the blood vessels dilate and your hands are warmer. But other things can affect it, like the temperature outside, what you drank, what you ate, medications, and so on. So you want to be careful and sort of over relying on just that. Then we have skin conductance, which has to do with how much sweat there is on your hands. So obviously when you're reacting to something possibly stressful, you might get more sweat on your skin. Then we have heart rate, and heart rate variability is another thing that we can measure. And respiration, so we're measuring our breathing. Then we have EEG, which is the electrical activity that we pick up from the brain. So there are a lot of relaxation techniques, everything from diaphragmatic breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, guided imagery, and so on. But a lot of times, either a person doesn't believe that it's going to do anything, or they can't really tell if it's doing anything. So with biofeedback, what we're able to do is measure how the body's actually reacting. So we can see what's going on with the muscle tension, with the sweat, with the breathing, and so on. And we can see if whatever it is we're doing is actually making any difference. And often, in order to get somebody to actually do something, they need to feel like it's worthwhile. They're not wasting their time. So if you can see the changes, you can learn how to control it. And this is something that allows you to be able to take more control over what's going on with your own body. This is an example of sensors that are measuring muscle activity from a person's face. And that we might use that for headaches, also just for general muscle relaxation to teach a person awareness about what's going on with their muscle activity. So the sensors they're very sensitive. And what they're doing is they're picking up the tiny electrical signals that are given off when the muscles contract. And some of that electricity makes it to the surface of the skin, and that's what we're picking up from those sensors. Also, as I mentioned, we use biofeedback and stress management in performance. So you wouldn't really think of football players doing relaxation so much, but it's something that can be very important in terms of not just relaxation, but learning control over your body. So having your mind and body really work as a system. There are times when you need to really be exerting yourself 100%, and then in between those times, then you want to be able to turn things off and conserve energy and not damage your muscles and so on. So a lot of athletes are now using biofeedback and other techniques. So now I want a volunteer to try the biofeedback. Now, before you all jump on, you don't feel anything, there's no shock, there's no needles, we're just measuring. And we are in a hospital, right? So I think you guys probably do things to people that they would be a lot worse than what I'm going to do. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put some sensors on, and it's going to measure your muscle activity or your breathing or something like that. So who's going to be brave and come up? I can hook myself up if everybody's scared. Okay, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'll put these sensors that measure muscle activity. Okay, so this is just alcohol, and so we're just wiping just to get any oil, makeup, anything like that off of the skin. That's one, so that we can pick the signal up better, and also so that the sensors will actually stick. Okay, so these are just adhesive sensors, sort of like what you'd use for EKG. It's so quiet in here. Is everybody not awake yet, or nobody's throwing anything at me? Or? Okay. All right, so that's for muscle tension. And I might as well just hook the other stuff up, because I don't know if I'm going to get any other volunteers from this group. And this one measures breathing. Where's it going? This is going to go around your waist. Okay. So just hands up, forward. Okay, all that. Okay, so now what we have on her includes muscle tension, skin conductance, that's the sweat. This is the muscle tension. We have this one is the heart rate, and the one around her waist is for breathing. Okay, and while we're doing that, I'm just going to pass this around. If anybody wants more information on biofeedback, we do seminars and things like that. You can just put your information down. So now we're going to take a look at what's going on here. So in this case, this is a what we would use in a professional office for biofeedback. So we can measure, like this system is measuring up to 8 different things at one time. We also have other types of devices where you can even connect things to, like these things, to a smartphone or a tablet, and you can do biofeedback yourself at home or wherever. So there's different levels of equipment. This type of equipment, normally people would be going into an office once or twice a week for sessions, and for the other things, you know, you would just be practicing at home with yourself. Okay, so first thing I like to start with is this is the EMG, and this is measuring muscle activity. So turn this down. Relax. So now the idea is you have this line here, which we call a threshold, or it's a goal. So if I'm working with her on muscle activity, maybe let's say she came in because she was having tension headaches. And so the idea is that perhaps she's tensing the muscles in her face too much. So this is helping her to really notice, to be more aware of how much she's tensing. So when she's more relaxed, it's going to be lower. When she's more tense, it's going to be higher. So now I'm just going to ask her to do a few things. Just if you would just raise your eyebrows. Okay, and relax. Okay, and see it comes down. And now bite your teeth together. Relax. So even though the sensors are here, it can even pick up tension in the jaw. And now frown like you're angry. Okay, and relax. And you notice the reading actually went up to about 300-400. And so now when she finally does relax again, you can see the level is much lower. So the tension levels can change a lot in a short amount of time. And so here you can see that she's relaxing the muscles a lot more than she was before. And she's been tensing on purpose and so on. But you see when we first started, the levels were much higher. And we haven't really done any training or anything, but that's part of what happens with the biofeedback, is the person is learning themselves from what they see. And so she's able to start affecting what the readings are doing. Now, did you notice anything that you were doing that caused it to get lower than it was when you first started?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Sometimes you don't even really, you're not really clear necessarily on what you did different, but once you see that if it's higher, you're more tense, and if it's lower, you're more relaxed, you start to make adjustments. Even some of it is more conscious than other parts of it. So now we're going to look at something else here. We'll look at the skin conductance. This is the one that has to do with the sweat. Well, let me look at a different way of looking at it. So this is... turn this down a little bit. Can you hear that okay? Okay. So now this is showing how much sweat there is on the hands. And I was going to see if I could make it go up, but
oh, but when I move my hands.
yeah. So what happens is if you move your hands, then the sensors might the contact between the skin and the sensors might change a little bit. So yeah, just rest your hand in a way that's comfortable. And so with this reading, we usually are wanting a person to get to about 2 or lower. I've worked with people that were as high as like in the 30s. And so usually when you shake hands with a person like that, you can feel the wetness on their hands. So this has to do with like emotional reactivity and so on. Usually what I would do is I would let it sort of calm down. And then I would say, okay, now I'm going to see if I can think of something to ask you that, you know, might, I don't know if you'd really want to answer in front of everybody. And, you know, and then it would tend to go up. But she already kind of raised it a little bit. So now it has to kind of recover back to baseline in order for that to work. But, so this is good for, like, if you're working with anxiety, you know, a person maybe has panic and things like that. Or if you just get emotionally upset and you want to kind of calm yourself down, you can see this, as it's going down, that means your nervous system is calming down again. As it goes up, that means it's getting more excited again. Okay? Now, the other thing I want to show you is, has to do with what we call heart rate variability. And this is showing both the breathing and the heart rate. So this blue line is her breathing. So when she inhales, the line is going to go up because that belt is stretching. And then when she exhales, it goes down. So if you're trying to teach somebody diaphragmatic breathing, first thing a lot of times you tell someone to take a deep breath and they go like this, right? And so that's not really what we want. When we want someone to do breathing that's going to help them relax more, we want more of the movement to be here.